All the victims' families have been notified. We will be releasing a list of those that lost their lives yesterday. This community is hurting right now. There's going to be a lot of conversations over the next couple of days and weeks, and I'm going to be very animated about what I think this country can do to possibly prevent these tragedies in the future. Today's a day of healing. Today's a day of mourning. The suspect is in custody. He will be appearing before his first magistrate today at 2 p.m. at the Broward County Courthouse. We will interview every single student or every person in that school that possibly knew something or might not know they know something. They will be thoroughly debriefed, and we will make sure that we're able to prosecute this case. The suspect's been charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder.
So I think everybody up here is going to say the same thing. Our hearts and prayers are with these families. The families that clearly lost a loved one, other families that have loved ones still in the hospital. I had the opportunity to visit with some of those families last night. And then also we want to make sure this never happens again. Next week in Tallahassee, I'm going to sit down with state leaders. We're going to have a real conversation about two things. How do we make sure when a parent is ready to send their child to school that in Florida, that parent knows that child is going to be safe? Number two, how do we make sure that individuals with mental illness do not touch a gun? But the violence has to stop. We cannot lose another child in this country to violence in a school.
In 2017, the FBI received information about a comment made on a YouTube channel. The comment simply said, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter." No other information was included with that comment, which would indicate a time, location, or the true identity of the person who made the comment. The FBI conducted database reviews, checks, but was unable to further identify the person who actually made the comment.
I will tell you that students have been reaching out to me, reaching out to staff, probably board members and others, saying that now is the time for this country to have a real conversation on sensible gun control laws in this country. So our students are asking for that conversation, and I hope we can get it done in this generation, but if we don't, they will. The second thing I would say, and the governor alluded to it, something that we can do now, that we can get done in this legislative session, is some real funding for mental health support for our youth and organizations in our community so we can properly provide the right kind of interventions. We should not have disconnected youth wandering around in our communities, and we know that they need additional support. There is a GoFundMe account that's been set up. As we talked about yesterday, there have been a lot of fraudulent type of activities set up out there, so we've worked to establish something that's credible. It's a GoFundMe account, Stoneman Douglas Fund it's called. And I want to acknowledge some heroes that have been in our schools. We had an athletic director, campus monitor, who responded immediately when there was signs of trouble in the school. Fortunately, those two heroes gave their lives for our kids and probably helped prevent this from being a worse tragedy than it is today.
My job now will continue to be to help the victims and the families. We've gotten to all of the victims who have lost loved ones to be sure that we can help pay for their funeral expenses. If you are in the hospital with your family, we will be coming to you today to help you, to make sure we help with your hospital bills so you have nothing to worry about there. We also will be on scene with the FBI and with Superintendent, who has done a great job. Our advocates will be there to provide counseling.
My message to the community, to Broward County, is simple. Your elected officials, your commissioners, your state reps, your state senators, make sure these are people that aren't worrying about millage rates and saving money. This is a time to save lives. We need more law enforcement. We need more deputies. This isn't the time to worry about how many dollars might be saved if we don't have a deputy here or a police officer here. This is nationwide. We need more heroes, more first responders, not less first responders. What I'm asking our lawmakers to do is go back to places like Tallahassee, places like Washington, D.C., and give police the power. If they see something on social media, if they see graphic pictures of rifles and blood and gore and guns and bombs, if they see something, horrific language, if they see a person talking about, I want to grow up to be a serial killer, we need to have the power to take that person and bring them before mental health professionals at that particular time, involuntarily, and have them examined. People are going to be rightfully so concerned about their rights, as am I. But what about the rights of these students? What about the rights of young kids who go to schools with book bags and pencils? Don't they have the right to be protected by the United States government to the best of our ability? And that's what we'll be doing.
Airport shooting last year, now this tragic shooting. What can you tell the people of Broward County? What else can be done for their safety?
As I said, I talk about this all the time. It's not a phrase, it's not a term. It's the way we have to live our lives in circa 2018. If we see something, we need to say something. If that neighbor comes home every Friday at 4 o'clock and he or she's always carrying a grocery bag and has milk and eggs sticking out, and the last 2 Fridays they've gone to a different, maybe a range, and they've come out back with bullets in the bag on Fridays, that's a change in behavior. That's different. That's something we need to know about. You're our eyes and ears. Well, one community member who sees something could do more in a 1-minute phone call than sometimes law enforcement could do in a period of months. If you know anybody, right now, if you know anybody, you're saying, you know what, this raises a red flag. I was thinking of calling us. Don't think about calling us. Call us.
I can't go into much detail at all about the student's record and personal information. I will tell you that he was a former student at Stoneman Douglas. Because of issues that arose here, he was transferred to another school within the county. This particular individual came on the campus at the time of dismissal, and that is a fairly open time for the campus, and he entered the facility at that moment. So let me just say this: when we have students within our care in the district, we provide the services that we can provide them. This is bigger than just the school system. Our kids are out of our schools 2/3 of the time that they're up. We need a community-wide approach to helping our students with challenges and mental health concerns. And so, again, we've got to invest resources to make sure that we minimize the occurrence of this ever happening again, because if we don't, it's not a matter of if, it's going to be when.
Well, we had a school resource deputy, Deputy Peterson. He was on campus and he was armed. He never encountered, at this point, the only thing I can tell you definitively is he never encountered Cruz.
Governor Scott, you said you want to have a real conversation about how to prevent something like this from happening. Does that real conversation include gun control? Can you tell Floridians today that's something that you'll look into?
The two things I want to focus on when I have this conversation next week with state leaders is I want to focus on school safety, and that's going to focus on dollars. It's going to focus, as the superintendent said, on mental health dollars. It's going to focus on what are the things we can do with regard to school safety. But on top of that, we've got to think about this: if somebody's mentally ill, they should not have access to a gun.